sexuality, tradition, business, and so much more. Hi, I'm Regina Kirschman.
And I'm Dr. Sam Dubé. Together, we're going to take you on an extraordinary journey with engaging people from around the world, starting from right here in Ottawa, the capital of Canada.
Hello, everyone. We're here for another amazing edition of the Etiquette Show, New York City's Etiquette Show on Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And we have an especially fabulous guest today, Dr. Lulu. Take it away, Santosh.
Dr. Lulu, aka the Mamatrician, is a Nigerian-born U.S. Air Force veteran, pediatrician, and mom of a transgender young adult. She is a two-time TEDx speaker, best-selling author, youth suicide prevention activist, and award-winning LGBTQ advocate. She is also an indie film actress, host of two podcasts, The Pride Corner and Suicide Pages, and host of the Parent Hour with Dr. Lulu radio show on Tejano FM 98.9. And in her spare time, she hosts, moderates, or MCs events. A former Lieutenant Colonel Commander and Medical Director, this U.S. Air Force disabled veteran is also a certified life coach who currently works with parents of LGBTQ plus kids, helping them create safe spaces through self-love, self-acceptance, affirmation, and support of their children. She speaks publicly on parenting, childhood trauma, LGBTQ issues, DEI at the workplace, youth suicide prevention, and mental wellness, to name a few. Dr. Lulu has been featured on local, national, and international television, including the Diaspora Show on the Nigerian Television Authority and the nationally syndicated CBS Morning News with Gayle King. She has also been featured in My African Magazine, The Washington Post, Parents Magazine, Black Parent Magazine, Entrepreneur.com, Texas Medical Journal, blackpass.org, and Black Parenting Magazine, and numerous other online media outlets. She is the best-selling author of 6 books, including How to Teach Your Children About Racism. Her books are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and anywhere great books are sold. Her most recent book is an anthology about immigrant women, the Warrior Woman Project. She is currently working on her 7th book, Invited In, How to Become the Parent Your LGBTQ Child Needs, due on December 31st, 2022. Her website is dr-lulu.com. She is at Dr. Lulu Talk Radio on all social media platforms. Her Facebook neighborhood, accepting, affirming, and supporting your LGBTQ children. Email coach@dr-lulu.com. Telephone number 802-768-1180. Thank you so much, Dr. Lulu, for joining us on the show today.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Awesome. Thank you very much, and a special welcome, Dr. Lulu, and we're anxious to get this show started. So first of all, there's lots of people in our audience who already know who you are, but perhaps could you introduce yourself a little bit in terms of being a sort of a Nigerian American immigrant physician? Tell us a little bit about that background.
I like to say I was born, bred, buttered, and slightly burned in Nigeria, which is one of the most homophobic countries in the world. So it's just ironic that I happen to also be a queer person myself. So, and then I'm Catholic, and then I'm of the Igbo tribe, which are very patriarchal and traditional, and, you know, the woman is not seen nor heard, matter of fact. And I just came out as a rebel. So my dad was like, I don't know what to do with this girl. But I went to medical school. I graduated in 91, and then I came to the US in 94. And I went to Howard, so HU in the house. I'm a Bison, me and Kamala Harris. But yeah, so I did my residency in Howard, at Howard, finished up, and then moved to the Carolinas, and that's when I started my pediatric practice. And I did that for, I think, just shy of 15 years. After my divorce with my ex-husband, I joined the Air Force and moved to Texas, and I'm still in Texas. I am one of the few people that will tell you they'll use ex-wife and ex-husband in the same sentence, because I just happen to also have an ex-wife. But I'm very excited to be here. I happen to also be a mom of a transgender young adult. And, you know, nothing prepares you for being the parent of a trans child, and especially not if you live in Texas. So between Nigeria, the Catholic Church, Texas, and my trans kid, I've got my plates pretty much full, and I come out swinging every day.
And was that sort of was this, I guess, a growing learning experience, having a transgender child, you know, when there's not a lot of, I guess, literature out there to kind of prepare you for the process of how to best, you know, create that positive space for your child to evolve and flourish?
Well, I mean, that you can answer that question two ways. First of all, there's no manual for parenting, period. Just as an entity, parents have no manuals. And then when you're Black and you're African, and then you just also happen to be a Catholic, you do not want to be the parent of a gay child, what more a transgender child. But as a physician who has worked with a lot of high-risk youth, I know that suicide is a big thing amongst youth, period, particularly transgender youth. So it was ultimately a no-brainer to support my child. But it wasn't at the beginning, and that's why I use the word ultimately. Because just like most parents, I pushed back. I did not want to be the mother of a queer child. I did not want to be the mother of a gay child. And I started kind of trying to negotiate with God. Okay, if he's just gay, I'll be really good. You know, I promise. And okay, well, all right, we'll just stop at gay. Can we just stop at gay? And I guess God had other plans. And God was like, no, you said you were an activist and you talk a lot. Well, who do you want me to send? Who do you want to be the mother of a transgender? Who's going to be the Black mom of a trans kid? And so I realized that the child was given to me to do the work that I'm doing right now. A lot of Black people, both in America and outside America, especially in the motherland, are intensely homophobic. And it's because it's all a learned behavior. We were all taught these things. And so my work is mostly centered around unlearning and then learning the correct information, because I have had to unlearn. I was not always supportive and gung-ho about it because I struggled with my own internalized homophobia. I didn't like myself. I told my dad when I was 16 that I liked girls, and he said it was a phase. And I kept waiting for the phase to go away, and it didn't go away. So I didn't like being gay. I didn't like being queer. I didn't like it. And so I did not want my child to be same. I knew about the persecution. I knew about all of the negative energy that comes with just being queer in today's world. So I did not want that for my child. Unfortunately, I went about it the wrong way. I wasn't fully supportive at the beginning. I really didn't want it to be. Sadly, I lost a lot of friends. I wish I could say to you that everyone was like, yeah, we support you. But once you make up your mind to do this, once you know your child has been given to you as a gift to nurture and to raise, and once you decide to believe that it's not your fault, a lot of parents think it's their fault, that they made their child gay somehow, you know? So once you get past that struggle phase, the rest of the story is easy. One of the things I talk about a lot is that people should be very careful, especially parents should be very careful when someone who does not have a queer child or who's not a queer person is advising you about a queer child, because they don't know. They don't know their lived experience. They know what they think. They know what they've been fed. But only one person knows what it's like to be queer, and that's the queer person.
When you refer to unlearning, does that have to do with people having sort of prejudices which they may not necessarily know that are negative, and trying to be more open-minded and cultivated a sort of a new paradigm and thinking when trying to embrace sort of diversity in general and the LGBTQ community, and whether people who may be relations in your family or your friends, sort of unlearning that sort of mentality which is blocking that positive space?
Yeah, absolutely. The whole unlearning is about just bursting the myths, what I call myths, mistakes, and misconceptions about the queer community. A lot of them. My dad telling me it's a phase is something that you have to unlearn, because it wasn't a phase. It might look like it's an innocent mistake, but it took me 26 years to get over that. For 26 years, I did not like that part of me. I tried to squash it. I tried to hide it. I tried to pretend it didn't exist. I lived under the radar as a heterosexual woman because I just didn't want to be bisexual. But I didn't make myself bisexual. I didn't create the bisexual me. So I needed to come into that fully. But it took 26 solid years. And so it's not as innocent. Every single myth, mistake, or misconception, whether they think it's a choice, whether they think it's a lifestyle, whether they think it's a phase, whether they think it's sexual assault or it's a mental illness or the parents caused it, all of those and then some are all the things that people have to unlearn. And today, there are multiple states in America that will put a parent like me in jail. In Michigan, I'll get 12 years. In Texas, I could just get arrested for affirming and supporting my child. So it's not without potential consequences doing what I'm doing, but you have to do it. There's no other way around it.
One of your great sort of TED lectures, which I was watching, you talk about coming out of the closet, and I was wondering, how did you reach the epiphany that coming out of the closet may have some sort of a negative connotation? Because I know that many people in the sort of community might have regarded coming out of the closet to be sort of like saying you're queer, sort of taking that control of a prejudice and liberating yourself. So how did you reach that epiphany in terms of coming out of the closet may be sort of another thing that we need to unlearn to create that positive space?
So I didn't create the inviting in concept, but I want to be known. Like I told Oprah when doing the interview, I want to be known as the inviting in queen. Once I looked at the fact that there are multiple studies that have shown that the concept of coming out, and like I said in the TED Talk, there are two peak periods of suicidal ideation or suicidal behavior in queer youth. When they first realize that they are indeed queer, nobody wants that. And so it's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe, this is who I am. Because the world is so homophobic, when these kids find out, it's not a good thing. And then the second thing is to figure out how they're going to tell their parents. And in America or in the world today, the definition of coming out is telling someone about what you are. But heterosexuals don't have to do that. I've never heard anybody say, hi, I am heterosexual. No. And so because children feel like they have to do that, and unfortunately, many kids get kicked out. Some kids get killed. I mean, we had the gentleman in, I think it was Iran or something, that was beheaded recently for being queer. It's not without those kinds of potential consequences. So as a result of that, the whole concept of inviting in kind of flips it on its head. So you, the parent or the adult around the child, needs to create a safe enough space for the child to now invite you into their world. So yeah, it's still telling, but in this case, the child owns the power, and they don't have to tell you if they don't want to. However, coming out, people can out you. It's like you don't always have control over that. It's basically a play on words, but inviting in is more empowering, and it gives the queer person, puts them in the driver's seat and in full control of who they tell. But more importantly, it creates an ally. It helps parents become an ally, teachers become allies, family members learn how to be allies. If you're an ally, then the child will see that you have been able to create a safe space, and then they will invite you into their world. And then it's not a big deal. It's not like, oh my God, they're coming out. No, it's like, I'm actually inviting you in. So I own the rights to, like I said, rescind your invitation. I don't want to talk to you anymore about it, or upgrade you to VIP status because, I really think that you deserve to know. I think when I looked into the concept of the closet, it was actually created by cis heterosexual white men. So why would anybody be put in a closet in the first place? What do we put in closets? We put dirty shoes and dirty bags and smelly coats and raincoats and stuff, and we hide things in the closet. Why would you want to put your child, whether figuratively or in real life, in a closet? So it's the whole idea is breaking down any enclosed space, because queer people are born that way. They might not realize it till they die, or they might realize it and not tell, but truly they were born that way. So whose idea was it to put them in a closet anyway? So that's kind of why I want people to know that the whole closet idea should be scrapped. And I hope I am able to be known for that, to be the person who gets that done.
So when we unlearn this sort of prism of coming out of the closet, we can then transform that context into a empowering one where everyone is empowered and everybody is equal, whether they're heterosexual or LGBTQ or whatever their gender experience or sexual orientation is, so that there's no concept that, oh, you're coming out of the closet because you're some sort of, person that is subhuman that needs to.
That's different. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, that's definitely what, because again, this coming out of the closet has a lot of sort of prejudice, and and it makes people feel like they're dirty or something.
Yes, exactly. And it's like they're hiding. It's like a secret.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be a secret.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the lines I forgot in that second TEDx talk, believe it or not, is the line that said to the parents, I know you are mourning the loss of the child that you envisioned. However, blah, 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 blah. The reason I forgot that line is because I showed my talk to my transgender child about a week before the official event. And she said, Mom, the whole talk is fantastic, but I have a problem with this line. That was the only line she had a problem with. She said, why are parents mourning the loss of a child? Why are they not celebrating that the child is finally living authentically? And because we switched that a week to the event, my brain just it just forgot about it, because it took me months to memorize the talk. But it's a very critical point, because parents today have this idea, this notion of mourning a child that they envisioned. Well, let's look at that closely. That's not the child's fault that you created a persona over here and then imposed it on the child. That's not the child's fault. You should not, like when somebody's pregnant now, we shouldn't ask what's the gender. You should be happy that you're having a baby with 10 fingers and 10 toes. I know this because I'm a pediatrician. We have babies born that are sick. Babies are born that are dead. We have big things. We have things that can happen that way. So my suggestion to parents is, don't look at it like, but I wanted you to get married to a woman or to a man and live in a white home with a picket fence or whatever, have 2 dogs. The truth is, most heterosexual marriages end up in divorce anyway. So whose idea is it that we're trying to float? And why is marriage the only thing that we're thinking about when our kids say they're gay? Or why is sex the only thing that we're thinking about when our kids mention that they're gay? When you come into the LGBTQ+ community, there's the intersex, which has nothing to do with sexual activity. There are asexuals who have no sexual desire. But people don't know there's 2 spirits who are just leaders and teachers and sages. So people don't know what they don't know. And my job is to try to educate them that, yes, the alphabet mafia, if you want to call them that, is a potpourri of different human beings and different spiritualities and different entities. You just have to come in and learn each one, all part of the unlearning that I'm talking about.
I think you also mentioned, Dr. Lulu, about non-binary being a sort of a new sort of challenge in terms of incorporating the sort of non-binary identities and experiences with the traditional perceptions that people have as LGBTQ within the community, and as far as people looking as heterosexual to the community. So I guess non-binary is this new sort of challenge, so to speak. When you sometimes, I know people, sometimes they may feel to be more feminine, or maybe they might have a more of a masculine persona, and so that's, and there's some people in the LGBTQ community who itself not sort of used to that, and they'll like, so that's another, I guess, experiences, overcoming not just the prejudices that heterosexual communities impose against LGBT communities, but LGBT communities themselves sort of doubting and, making judgments on other people.
Exactly. And it's all part of othering. It's all part of othering. It's the same thing. I like to use Nigeria, where I come from, or India, or African Americans. I use those three people all the time. In Nigeria, we have ethnicism. So the Igbos from the east do not want to have anything to do with the Yorubas from the west. But we're all black. Our problem is not our skin color, it's our tribes. In India, there's a caste system.
True. I'm from India.
Their problem is not being ruled once upon a time by the Brits. It's an intra problem. So same thing happens in the LGBTQ community. We have our own internalized homophobia. So becoming an ally is not all about the non-queer person. It's also the queer people being allies for ourselves. And that's why I say that even as a queer person myself, I was not fully supportive of my kid. So it's not something that you have to go too far to find out. I tell my clients that I have made all the mistakes so that they don't have to. Like they say, smart people learn from their mistakes, but smarter people learn from other people's mistakes. So I've made all the mistakes so you don't have to make any mistakes anymore. And that's why I have a lead magnet on my website that's titled 7 Mistakes Parents Make Even When They Want to Accept, Affirm, and Support Their Kids. They still make these mistakes, and they're common mistakes that we all make. They think it's their fault. That is a huge one. That's a huge one. And I could just go on and on, but yeah, you're right.
Awesome. So Santos, I think you might have a question, because India is also very diverse. They have
yes.
So do you have a sort of a questions from the maybe an Indian perspective in terms
of yes. I just wanted to agree completely, like the infighting, like you said, the British, the rule, even after it ended, there was so much infighting, and I think that's kind of what's happening even with the LGBTQ community, as you mentioned. And what steps are you taking to kind of like unite everybody? Is there any common objective way to bring everybody together to the table?
So one of the that's a good question. But one of the responses I give to that is everyone is not my tribe. Okay. Everyone is not my niche. I do not have enough bandwidth to try to unite everybody. I only want to work with parents who actually want to affirm and support their kids. If a parent today tells me over my dead body, like my own ex-husband said, I don't want to work with you. Today, my child is completely estranged from their dad because my ex-husband is Nigerian and extremely homophobic. Okay. I don't want to work with you. Honestly, I'm not about that. I know it kind of sounds, I'll be doggone. Well, I'll be doggone. I'm not going to try. I'm not Jesus. Jesus didn't even get everybody. Jesus could not get everyone to work with him. Works more me, right? So I only want to work with parents who want to support and affirm their kids, but maybe don't know how, or want to support and affirm their kids, do know how, but need support anyway, because we should always be the first person on our to-do lists. And I tell parents all the time, you're not the most important person in your child's life. Your child is the most important person in their life.
True.
You are the most important person in your life. However, you are the most influential person in your child's life. So it's important that you take your role as a parent seriously.
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
Dr. Lulu, I heard you mention that you were in an Oprah show. So how was your experience on Oprah, and what did you talk about on Oprah?
So I was picked as one of the 12 students for Oprah's masterclass called The Life You Want. We had, our special guest was Van Jones and a lady called Rebecca Welch. And I specifically talked about imposter syndrome, how I struggle with imposter syndrome. And Auntie Oprah wasn't having it. She was like, what do you mean? How come? You're a physician, you're this, you're that. I said, sis, imposter syndrome is real. It's a sense of, am I doing the right thing? Am I qualified to do this? Should I even be doing this? I mean, am I making a difference? People, is it effective? It's something that happens to us, to the best of us, to the most successful of us. Oprah herself has talked about the fact that once upon a time, she also struggled with imposter syndrome. So I talked about imposter syndrome and just how I've struggled over time. But now I'm doing better because I know that the antidote of imposter syndrome is action. Just do the work anyway, and just believe that, just have radical self-belief. I watched Self-Made, which is the movie about Madam C.J. Walker. And I've never seen a woman who had so much radical self-belief. So I realized that that's what I need. I need to believe that my work is needed. My work is necessary. People out there need it. And I just have to keep putting my face out there. And the more I do that, the more people will get to know about me. My business is not even a year old yet, and I've already been on Oprah. So it's like, okay, so, I mean, what else? It was a dream that we all dream about it. When I told my dad, I said, Daddy, guess what? I was interviewed by Oprah. My dad didn't ask me what Oprah asked me. He said, you have been saying that since you were a teenager. And that is true. I've been saying I'm going to be interviewed by Oprah. I just say that all the time. All my friends are like, I knew exactly where I was when you told me you were going to be on Oprah. Everybody knows I've been saying it. And then it happened. So there's a lot to be said about having radical self-belief and just going forth and doing the work regardless of all the ups and downs. Because in the state of Texas, I stay at the governor's mansion. I stay at the Capitol all the time, just always talking till my face is, till I'm blue in the face, trying to educate people that as a pediatrician, I know that supporting and loving your child is not child abuse.
It's very inspiring.
Somehow LGBT has become a political thing. So somebody has to do it. And I'm thankful that I'm a Black woman doing this. We have white women doing it, but I'm the one Black woman who happens to be a physician and a pediatrician at that, and then a mom of a trans child. So a lot of times when things are happening, you don't realize why it's happening, and you're asking God to please don't let it be. And then after a while, it all comes full circle. The question to ask now is, why not me? If anybody at all, why not me? And so I'm very happy to do the work. I just thank people like you who have a platform that allows me to come and just share my passion. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about this. I worry about suicide in children. I worry about, just parents not knowing. And I worry mostly about the religious trauma that LGBT kids and LGBT families have to endure, because religion is, for the most part, still anti-LGBT.
But going back to what you were saying before, Dr. Lulu, so in terms of the experience you had with your own father, in terms of, the prejudice, so is it possible that they're not more sort of Black activists like yourself? Because maybe, because there's the LGBTQ diversity in the Black community, but maybe they sort of felt the need to buckle to their parents, their family, their communities, and you were able to push out of that prejudice without feeling as if you had to conform and, and not express yourself. So does that have to do with sort of a dynamic in the Black community? Because I know that, in the Black community, there's a lot of pressure to conform. And if you don't conform, you become a complete outcast, whereas maybe the white community has more tolerance. You can maybe still ostracize from your parents, but there's still some more places for you to be accepted in the community in general.
I think overall, that's a great point. I don't think I can add much to it. You nailed it. What I want to add, what the angle I want to come in from is the hope that I have is that the Gen Zers and the millennials and the Gen Alphas are much, much more accepting. So yes. I have hope for the future. Sadly, I'm a Gen Xer. The baby boomers are my parents. I say that with the word sadly. However, I also say that my father only knew what he knew. And Queen Maya Angelou told us to keep on doing your best until you know better, then you do better. So today, my dad accepts his granddaughter. He doesn't understand it. He's pushing back, or he tried to push back. And I said, Dad, here's how it's going to be. This is what it is now. You accept it, or you're no longer invited. And sometimes you have to take a stance like that, because the alternative is a dead child. And I will not bury my child for anybody. I won't. And one of the things I tell parents that I coach is, if someone tells you to disown your child who happens to be queer, that person hates you and hates your child, because they know that suicide is such a high risk amongst these kids. Nobody chooses to jump, which is what I like to say, because they're happy and they're excited. No, suicide is usually the last alternative, the last option, excuse me. And if a child chooses to do that, then that means we as adults have failed that child. All of us. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for children aged 13 to 24. African American kids aged 5 through 12 are twice as likely as their white counterparts to die by suicide. These are real numbers. LGBT kids are 8 times more likely to die by suicide than other kids. This is not a joke. I should not be the only one doing this. All Black people should be doing this, which is why I worry when I see Black people who are homophobic. How do you do this? Because you already know what racism is. It's like it's counterintuitive, right? Yet it happens. It happens.
Yeah, unfortunately, you would think that, minorities be having, like you said, experiences of racism and exclusion would be empathetic automatically to the LGBTQ community's own experience. But I find that there is a disconnect whereby, I guess a lack of empathy, I should say. They don't want, it's like somebody who doesn't want anybody to punch them, but punches other people. They're like disconnected from their own experience. Yes. They don't want something bad to happen to them, but they see no problem with inflicting with others because they lack empathy.
Lack of self-awareness.
That's my sort of perception or view of that sort of hypocrisy that goes on with respect to minorities, and not having the golden rule, like do as others, the whole golden rule of Confucius.
Yes.
Don't do to others what you don't want others to do to you, and people are disconnected from that reality.
I mean, I hear you, but I'll play devil's advocate for a minute. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I will. We underestimate the power of brainwashing. We underestimate the power that religion has on the community. I have never seen anything more powerful than that. And people tell me, well, God created Adam and Eve and not Adam and Steve. Then you know what I say to them? Then who created Steve? It's a mindset that needs to be shifted. God also created Steve. God created Kayla and Shaniqua and Karen. We are all created by the same God. And God gave us the mindset to know what's right from what's wrong. These people, even when they know what's right, they still choose to go with what's wrong because we are fundamentally afraid. We all have fear, intense fear of judgment. I don't want my mom, I don't know what my friends are going to say. I don't know what my mom is going to say. I don't want the church to say such and such to me. Everybody's saying everything except, what about your child? What 5-year-old child is going to tell you that they're transgender if they're not? Where would they get that idea from? What 7-year-old child is going to choose to be gay today when you offer them a buffet of what to be? They're not going to say, I'll have gay with a side of fries. No, nobody wants to be gay today. And so when a parent hears it, I get that you are shocked. I get it because I wasn't really fully shocked. I'm not going to lie because I knew my kid was gay when they were, 2 or 3, but the transgender knocked me out. And I'll say that even as someone who always used to ask my child, to stop acting like a girl. Stop acting like a girl. So even behind at the back of my mind, I saw it, but I was in denial. I didn't want it to be. So most parents see these things, they sense it, they kind of sort of know it, but we would rather tell a lie. We had a president, and I don't know how political your show is, but we had a president who would stand in the front of everyone and tell a bold-faced lie. People do that. People do that. They'll do whatever they have to do to hide their shame or to avoid that emotion of vulnerability, that emotion of true transparency. They do anything for that, to not have to experience that feeling. So they tell lies and they tell themselves lies, and unfortunately, the kids suffer.
Definitely, it's terrible when kids have to suffer through these experiences. With that said, there's two areas that we're particularly excited to learn about. We heard that you have a retreat coming out, and your current book relates to that retreat. So we want to know about how your current book relates to your upcoming retreat, how people can potentially participate in that retreat if you're still accepting from the public, as well as your upcoming LGBTQ focus book. So if you could talk about those two books, yes, and your retreat and as well as how it relates to your current book.
Okay, so this is my latest book. It's called Dr. Lulu's Self-Love Journal, and it's got a 30-day challenge prompt in it. So these are my birth colors and these are my brand colors. So the way this book came about was I started doing some deep thinking, and I realized that while a lot of parents worry about, well, I don't understand, how did my child end up being gay? A lot of parents are focused on the outside, as, maybe it was a sexual assault, maybe it's a mental illness, maybe because, their friends or social media, right? The truth is a lack of self-acceptance. They really, truly do not want to declare, my name is Dr. Lulu and I'm a parent of a gay child. They don't want to say that. My name is Dr. Lulu and I'm a parent of a queer child. They are afraid of that. And that lack of self-acceptance is powered by lack of self-love. And so what they see is they look at themselves in the mirror and they don't like who they see. They don't like what they see because that person is associated with producing a child that is not perfect in their eyes. Okay. And imperfection, being gay, is not even that. And here's why I say that. I asked the parents, I said, if your child had to have open heart surgery tomorrow, will their sexuality matter? Will their transgenderness matter? And they said, no. I said, well, if it doesn't matter for open heart surgery, why does it matter anyway? And so I realized that self-love was what I needed to cultivate for myself. All of me, the parts that I like and the parts that I don't like, the part that is the mother of my regular, 18-year-old child, and the part that's the mother of my transgender 24-year-old, the part that's the mother of my 22-year-old son who is graduating from college. All of those, I had to learn to love every piece of me. And so I said, if I have to do that, then there must be other people out there too who need to kind of grasp that concept. And so the idea of a self-love journal came up, where every page says, I love myself today because I love myself today because I want people to ask themselves, find reasons to love themselves. And maybe if you can internalize the love, you will reflect it on others. A lot of times that's what happens. It's the things that we are lacking that we project on other people. So we're so busy saying, well, you know what? My child wasn't gay until he went to that university. We're trying to blame the university. But the truth is, you are afraid of saying that you created this child that is gay. And so why don't we look that fear in the eye? And basically that fear looks like you. That fear is your brain and your mind and your words. So I thought to myself, if I could have a self-love themed retreat, then I can talk to more parents about the concept of self-love in a more intimate setting. And so it's going to be in San Antonio, Texas, where I live. We have 4 days and 3 nights. We're going to have an African-themed retreat because I'm African. We're having a full, Nigerian dishes, West African dishes. We're having a photo shoot, an African-themed photo shoot. The women are going to have African clothes to wear. They're going to have the gele and the Iran buba and the boo-boos. They're going to wear those. We're going to do a tour of the town. We're going to look at the, San Antonio. It has a lot of rich history. I didn't even know. I know most people know now, but I did not know that San Antonio was so rich. I want them to come and experience something different from anything that they've done before, because if they can sit with themselves and look in the mirror and say to themselves, I love who I see, when they get home, it's going to be so easy to love everybody. In fact, you don't have to say anything. People will just see, say, something is different about you. And so I want them to be able to do that. We're going to have early morning yoga at 6 o'clock in the morning. We're going to have massage. We're going to have photo shoots. We're going to have healing circles. We're going to have coaching. They're going to have free time. They're going to write on their journals why they love themselves, why they need to learn how to live. Adults don't love themselves anymore.
Yeah.
So much hatred just going around. So I'm trying to bring love back in a sexy container. So.
Awesome. And so the title of the book, again, for people just tuning in, is the 30-minute...
Dr. Lulu's Self-Love Journal. It's available.
Self-Love Journal. Awesome.
Yes, it's available on Amazon, and I think it's on Barnes & Noble now. But I really want people to order from me so I can get to autograph each.
Of course.
Oh, okay.
So that is my request. I know y'all can get it from Amazon, but I really prefer to ask that you get it from me, which is why I don't mind giving out my email, my phone number. Text me, email me, and I'll send you yours autographed by me.
So what's your website that we go to again? You can repeat that again for...
My website is dr-lulu.com.
dr-lulu.com.
Yes.
And they will get an autographed copy of your self-love journal.
If they order it from me, they will get a.
Okay.
They will get a.
Or direct from her.
Okay. You have to order it from.
That's a
You have to order it from me. You can, but there's a form on my website if you want to go there. In other words, as long as it's not from Amazon. But if you go to Amazon to get it, then it will not be autographed. And I want to sell 2 million copies of this book because I really like it.
Awesome. Well, that's good stuff. So, is it, so your retreat starts when again?
Thank you for asking. My retreat is March 23rd. So we still have 4 spots left. So
4 spots, okay.
Only 4 left. Wow.
4 spots left. So everybody, viewers, listeners out there, you want to go to dr-lulu.com.
/retreat. Yes.
/retreat. You want to get one of the 4 spots.
Yes, please.
Awesome.
I would love to meet you. I want to get to meet people. I really want to do this.
Awesome. And what about your upcoming book? Tell us about that. What else you're thinking that's going to come out?
My upcoming book is titled Invited In, How to Become the Parent your LGBTQ plus child needs. Now, I would like as many people as possible to pre-order the book. So right now you can pre-order it from my website and I can give you the information if you like. So it's dr-lulu.com/invited, invited-in. Invited-in. You can pre-order the book. They should be ready by my birthday, which is in March.
March, okay.
So I'm excited.
You're going to have a birthday party at your retreat?
Yeah, that'd be a great
No,
idea.
you know what? We just might. Yes.
Yeah.
We just might. Yes. Why not? Why not?
Anybody bringing cake? Are you a cake fan or not really? Do you like cake?
I actually love nothing bundt cakes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Bundt cakes. Okay. What kind of bundt cake?
My favorite bundt cake is probably red velvet at this point.
Red
Oh,
velvet,
yeah, that's
okay.
a classic. Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody will
Okay,
surprise
good
you,
stuff.
I think, with that.
Awesome. That's
Oh,
good.
that was amazing.
Red velvet. Okay, well, it's good
Wonderful.
stuff there. Yeah, so
Yeah.
definitely the retreat. And we also mentioned your phone number. So for people, viewers and listeners out there who are experiencing problems within their own families or communities, do you have a sort of a professional practice that people can email you and contact you and get your professional consultation services? And how does that work? What's the process for becoming becoming someone who can avail themselves of your professional services?
So if you go to my website, there's a link to my calendar. Really, it's weird. There's this Calendly link. Just click on it and grab a spot and let's chat. My favorite thing to do, though, is to tell people to just go to my website and download the 7 mistakes, because a lot of parents don't even know that they don't even know that what they're doing is a mistake. And so I said, "Oh my God, really?" I said, "Yes." Blaming yourself for doing something wrong to create a child who's queer is a mistake. And a lot of parents find a way to say, they always find a way to come back and say, "Did I do something wrong?" Oh. You did not do anything wrong. So that's one of my biggest mistakes that parents make. Then just thinking it's a choice or it's a phase like my dad, or it's a mental illness, or, I don't know, it's their peers, or it's the social media. All of these things are big time mistakes that parents make, and they don't even know that they are making it. So I want everyone to download my 7 mistakes the parents make. It's a free PDF on my website. I think if you go to dr-lulu.com/PDF, you just click it and you just download it. But also you can make an appointment with me. I have a growing parent support group. We do parents coaching and we do support of ourselves on Monday nights at 6 p.m. Central. That was last night. I really want more people to join that, because we always need community. Everybody needs to see people like them. And we share that in common. There are Black women there, there are Indian women there, there are Caucasian women there, I have an Asian, we have a Hispanic. I mean, you can find somebody like you in that group. And we all share one thing in common. We're all parents of queer kids that want to put our best feet forward and support our children, because we know it's the right thing to do. So I really, if nobody remembers anything else today, I want them to remember that I have a parent support group that meets every Monday. And literally, if you go to my website, /coaching, you will see the link there. The first session is always free. Just come and see if it's a fit. Come and see if you like what we're talking about. But
you meet over Zoom, or how do you meet on?
It's on Zoom, yes. I've met a couple of them at different events that I've had, but it's on Zoom, so anybody can come. I plan on starting an in-person one when I move to California later in the year, but for now it's all Zoom.
And are you planning a retirement in San Diego?
Yes, I retired already, actually. I retired 2 years ago. So I was waiting for my youngest son to go off to college, and he goes off to college this fall. Then I'm going to move after he goes off to college. So
you don't seem to look like somebody who's about to retire. You look like somebody more starting their career than retiring.
Well, you know, Black don't crack. You know, Black don't crack. Yeah, so
okay, that's the secret.
It's all the happiness, it keeps you.
And also, I'm actually not as young as I was born in the 60s.
Okay,
Yeah. I'm not I'm not that young. But I'm thankful, I'm grateful. I think when you do the work of God, when you do as a pediatrician, first of all, you just have to be happy because the kids, they're sick. So they don't need you to bring your own drama. So as a pediatrician, I have that kind of demeanor. And just as a person, I'm an empath. I have a lot of compassion. I have a lot of energy. My dad calls me activity, believe it or not. He calls me that. He's like, I'm always doing something. I'm always trying to do something. So
awesome. Well, it's good to be active and keep alive and energized, and committed. And, that process of having a sort of purpose, in life that's helping others as an empath, that's going to bring your positive energy back to you as well, and youthful energy too.
Thank you. So, when I was a lieutenant colonel and a commander in the U.S. Air Force, people are like, how do you do all of these things? The truth is, once you tell the universe, once you put the energy out there, and you believe, you have to believe. That's the first thing. You have to believe that you can. For instance, you can support your child. You have to believe that. And how does belief come about? You just have to start doing it. And I know it's kind of weird, right? You cannot believe something until you keep on doing that thing. And then you now say, you know what? Yeah, I believe that. So we have to be about self-empowerment and radical self-belief. To me, that's what I have. I just have so much of that. And I just believe that, let me tell you a true story and then I'll let you go. When I decided to do this business, I had my middle son. I told him to go on Google and search and see how many Black parents are also coaching LGBT kids or LGBT parents, whatever. He came back and said, Mom, I'm on page 23 of Google and I can't find anyone. Oh. And that was when I realized I have to do the work. This was a year ago. Mm-hmm. We couldn't find anyone who's a Black physician, mom, whatever the intersectionality, we couldn't find them. But we have Black kids who are queer. We have Black parents who need to be coached. Mm-hmm. We have other parents that need to be coached. We have Indian parents. You know what I mean? So we have to do the work. Like what you're doing now, you're holding space for people to come and share their stories. Mm-hmm. We need more people to do that.
And it's awesome you're sort of that you're sharing that wisdom, experience, and insight with so many people out there need it and have problems finding it.
You're a pioneer.
Thank you. That's what Oprah said. She said you're a gallant. She said you're a gallant trailblazer is what she called me. I was like, I'll take that. Yes.
That's me. Oprah, very well spoken as usual.
Yes, you got the big words.
That's right.
Congrats on all your work.
Yeah, definitely. So, is there any sort of area that you haven't touched on, sort of previous interviews that you've done, you want to touch on that's important to get out there now that you have the opportunity of reaching out to the community in general, LGBTQ people, and specifically anything message that you really haven't had a chance to touch on yet?
I think when it comes to that, I want to tell the parents that I see you. I see you because I am you. I know you. But I also know your child because I was your child. So again, like I said at the beginning, if there's anybody that can understand both sides of the coin, it's me. And so when I tell you that you can, literally is as simple as just deciding to do it. It's like riding a bicycle. When you decide to ride a bike, then you get on the bike and start. Now that doesn't mean you're going to learn it today, but you have to first decide. And when people say, change is the only constant, I say decision making is the only constant, because sometimes the decision is also to not change. And when you ask yourself, what are you gaining by antagonizing your own child? I mean, in Nigeria, and maybe even in the African American community, you can be anything. You can be an armed robber. You can have 6 babies at the age of I don't know, 26, you can shoot up a bank. You can do anything that's the worst thing, but just don't be gay. Mm-hmm. And of all these things I listed, the one that you don't do on purpose, the one that you do not create, the one that you don't get a choice is being gay. Mm-hmm. So why don't we stop and just ask ourselves the question, how did we get here? How did we get to this thought process that's killing our kids? How is that okay? How? Mm-hmm. The truth is, it's not okay. So I want people to know that I also have an online course for those who like to do online courses. If you want to just do it on your own, it's part of my coaching program, but you can also do it on your own. I just want people to know that there are resources out there. That's the main thing that I want people to know. I'm a resource, and if you don't like me, find someone, but don't stay without talking to somebody about it. You need community, you need a resource, you need a coach, you need maybe therapy, you need someone that understands your journey. And it doesn't get any better than someone who is living said journey. Mm-hmm. So that's it.
And your online course is at dr-lulu.com?
Oh, I think so.
A link at least. I guess there might be a link to the online course.
I think it's
maybe.
actually
if you can find it.
Yeah, I'll give you the link. I think it's because that's an older link. I think it's uchennaume.com.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
If anybody who can't find the online course, go email or perhaps call Dr. Lulu, and Dr. Lulu will inform you and get you the online course if you want to do it on your own.
Yeah, it's uchennaume.com, but yeah.
Awesome. So thank you very much again, Dr. Lulu, for, we're just, thrilled that you could join us
it's an honor.
today with all your amazing experiences and insights. Thank you, Shantos, for joining us as well.
My pleasure.
And we look forward to your helping to get your books a bestseller.
Yes!
Yeah, what do we need? We need to get that journal out.
Yes,
So
yes.
thank you very much, Dr. Lulu, for coming out to our show. We were thrilled to have you for another edition of the Etiquette Show on the Manhattan Neighborhood Network.
I know. This is awesome. Oh.